The Mafia is an organization that has been deeply embedded in Italian society for centuries. Its origins can be traced back to the late 19th century in Sicily, where it emerged as a form of resistance against the ruling class. At the time, Sicily was ruled by a feudal system, where a small group of wealthy landowners controlled the vast majority of the island's resources. This system left most of the population impoverished and vulnerable to exploitation. In this context, the Mafia emerged as a secret society that provided protection to the poor and oppressed, while also engaging in illegal activities such as smuggling, extortion, and murder. The name, Mafia, is believed to have originated from an Arabic word, mahiyas, meaning a place of refuge. This name reflects the early origins of the Mafia as a secret society that provided protection to its members. Over time, the Mafia spread to other parts of Italy and became increasingly involved in criminal activities. Its activities included drug trafficking, money laundering, and extortion. The Mafia also began to infiltrate Italian politics, using its influence to gain power and influence. During the 1970s and 1980s, the Mafia became increasingly violent, engaging in a series of high-profile murders and bombings. These attacks targeted not only other members of the Mafia but also politicians, judges, and law enforcement officials who were trying to crack down on the organization. One of the most infamous incidents of Mafia violence occurred in 1992 when the Mafia assassinated two Italian prosecutors, Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. These murders sparked a public outcry in Italy and led to a renewed effort to combat the Mafia. Today, the Mafia continues to operate in Italy, although its influence has been significantly reduced. The Italian government has taken a more aggressive stance against the Mafia in recent years, and many high-ranking members of the organization have been arrested and prosecuted. The impact of the Mafia on Italian society has been profound. The Mafia's influence on Italian politics has undermined the country's democratic institutions, leading to corruption and political instability. The Mafia's involvement in the economy has also had a significant impact on Italy's financial health, with the organization engaging in money laundering and other illegal activities. Perhaps most concerning is the Mafia's impact on Italian society at large. The Mafia's violent tactics have led to a climate of fear in many parts of Italy, with ordinary citizens living in constant fear of reprisals from the organization. The Mafia's influence on Italian culture has also been significant, with movies and television shows glamorizing the organization and its members. Efforts to combat the Mafia in Italy have included increased law enforcement efforts, the creation of specialized anti-Mafia units, and the passing of laws designed to target the Mafia's activities. Perhaps the most successful effort to combat the Mafia in Italy has been the use of the Witness Protection Program. This program has allowed former members of the Mafia to come forward and provide information about the organization, leading to the arrest and conviction of numerous high-ranking members. Another effective tactic has been the use of asset seizures, which have allowed the Italian government to seize the assets of the Mafia and use them to fund anti-Mafia efforts. The government has also targeted the Mafia's financial activities, implementing strict anti-money laundering regulations and cracking down on the organization's illicit financial dealings. Despite these efforts, the Mafia continues to operate in Italy, and its influence can still be felt in many parts of Italian society. However, the Italian government's ongoing efforts to combat the Mafia have been successful in reducing its power and influence over the years. The fight against the Mafia is ongoing, but the Italian government's efforts have shown that even the most entrenched criminal organizations can be defeated with persistence, determination, and a commitment to justice and the rule of law. One of the most significant milestones in the fight against the Mafia in Italy was the Maxi trial, which took place in the mid-1980s. The trial was one of the largest ever held in Italy and involved over 400 defendants, including many high-ranking members of the Mafia. The trial was a major victory for Italian law enforcement, with over 300 defendants being convicted and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. The Maxi trial was significant not only for the number of convictions it produced but also for the way in which it exposed the inner workings of the Mafia to the public. The trial brought to light the extent of the Mafia's influence on Italian politics and society, and helped to galvanize public opinion against the organization. Since the Maxi trial, Italian law enforcement agencies have continued to make progress in their efforts to combat the Mafia. One of the most effective tools in this fight has been the Witness Protection Program, which has allowed former members of the Mafia to provide valuable information about the organization's activities. The Witness Protection Program has been so successful that it has become a model for other countries facing similar challenges. The program has allowed Italian law enforcement agencies to gain a better understanding of the Mafia's structure and activities, and has helped to bring numerous high-ranking members of the organization to justice. Despite these successes, the fight against the Mafia in Italy remains an ongoing challenge. The organization continues to adapt to changing circumstances and remains deeply entrenched in many parts of Italian society. One of the most significant challenges facing Italian law enforcement agencies is the Mafia's ability to operate on an international scale, with many of its activities taking place outside of Italy. Efforts to combat the Mafia's international activities have included increased cooperation with other law enforcement agencies, as well as the creation of international task forces dedicated to fighting organized crime. These efforts have produced some successes, with the arrest and extradition of numerous high-ranking members of the Mafia in countries around the world. Looking to the future, the fight against the Mafia in Italy will continue to be a complex and challenging task. However, the successes of the past several decades have shown that with persistence, determination, and a commitment to justice, even the most entrenched criminal organizations can be defeated. It is important to note that while the history of the Mafia in Italy is a fascinating subject, it is also one that is fraught with controversy and complexity. The organization's impact on Italian society has been profound, and its activities have left a lasting imprint on the country's culture, politics, and economy. It is also important to remember that the Mafia is not a monolithic entity, and that different factions and groups within the organization may have different goals and motivations. The Mafia is not simply a criminal organization, but a complex network of individuals and groups with their own agendas and interests. In conclusion, the history of the Mafia in Italy is a complex and fascinating subject that spans centuries of Italian history. The organization's origins in Sicily as a form of resistance against the ruling class gave way to a more violent and criminal organization that has had a significant impact on Italian society. The fight against the Mafia in Italy has been ongoing for decades, and has involved increased law enforcement efforts, the use of asset seizures and other tactics, and the creation of specialized anti-mafia units. While the Mafia continues to operate in Italy, the Italian government's ongoing efforts to combat the organization have been successful in reducing its power and influence over the years. Looking to the future, the fight against the Mafia in Italy will continue to be a complex and challenging task. However, the successes of the past several decades have shown that with persistence, determination, and a commitment to justice, even the most entrenched criminal organizations can be defeated.